Rings of Power is fixed. You don't need to worry anymore because they have been listening to the audience.
An evil, ancient, and powerful has returned.
They remain committed to 5 seasons of Rings of Power.
Prepare yourselves.
And staying dedicated to Tolkien's legacy, adapting and evolving the series based on audience feedback and response.
You are disgusting.
We take in everything, read the reviews, read what you have all written, read what your colleagues have written, and we even read what the fans are saying. Yes, that's right, all of this was talking about the journalists and the professional critics, and they go, oh, by the way, we do listen to the fans as well. And so obviously, with that, you're gonna get exactly what you want. A series all about the villains. Lord of the Rings, a story about good versus evil, good triumphing over evil. Let's make a show about Sauron, shall we? Let's make a show where the plight of the Orcs becomes more sympathetic in season 2. Orcs, literally bred to be evil, created them to represent all that is bad about war. Literally twisted, perverted elves that Morgoth made himself. Yeah, but you're definitely gonna feel sorry for them in season 2.
So, what do you think?
I think it's a beautiful lie.
The worst thing is, I know what's coming next. In this story about good and evil, they're not just going to make you feel sorry for the orcs. At the start of the series, you also find the roots of Hellbrand, Sauron, and Patrick McKay says that it will make you pity the Dark Lord. Have you ever looked at Satan ruling his pit of hell and thought, oh, that's got to be a terrible fate, I'm so sorry for you. I do know that you keep untold billions down in your depths of depravity, subjecting them to all of the horrors of literal hell, but it must be so difficult for you, I'm ever so sorry. Surrounded by hand-painted storyboard art and 3D models of the set, the showrunners explain in vivid detail, with pure glee on their faces. They, like our group, love Tolkien. That's why you're going to pity evil and feel sorry for the orcs.
I remember putting out my phone and I was like, yeah, it's Radio Lord of the Rings.
And all of this came at a time when, before season 1, they did promise that because the current landscape was peak bleak, Game of Thrones had drawn in viewers, but contained a lot of really horrible things. So they thought, how can we top this debasement? As it's really good in some shows, but it's relentless. That's why Rings of Power wanted to bring hope back to the television. It was going to be more optimistic storytelling.
There are not many women in it. Women who are in it never speak to one another.
Oh, please, won't you feel sorry for evil? Now, there are some causes for celebration in season 2. Despite McKay saying in season 1, Amazon has taken a humongous swing bet on us. But that's good, I think. Storytelling is too safe these days. And so you need to hire people with absolutely no talent or experience. Because who knows, maybe this time they'll actually do it right. They have fixed some of the casting in this series. That's why Bronwyn Nazaznin Benaidi is not returning for season 2. Actually, that's not their decision, that's something she's doing herself. But it does mean one less activist in the show.
I, as an activist,
We are both activists.
And that can only ever be a good thing. Maybe that's what they mean by it's going to be more optimistic, because even the article itself goes, how can they avoid telling peak bleak storytelling when they're going to focus explicitly on the bad guy? McKay even says it's a darker journey where we go to darker places, and he doesn't really have any kind of excuse except for, well, you know, all stories do it. Yeah, do you remember that time in Lord of the Rings where it took Sauron and then gave him a love interest just to try and humanize him? Do you remember that time where it did a flashback to 3 years ago where he lost his puppy and you find out that the Nazgul are actually just his wives and he's a very caring lover? I honestly don't know how we're going to pity the Dark Lord.
You're pure evil.
And you're just another man taking credit for a woman's work.
Is it nihilistic, bleak, or cynical where people are screwing each other over for self-gain without any sense of redemptive quality at the center of it? What are we talking about? Amazon Studios? In Tolkien, even the villains have something redemptive at the center. What? Ah, yes. Morgoth, with his redemptive center. The only way I can think you even mean with that is like Iluvatar, oh, I make everything. Everything is part of my song. It's like, what? This is one of those technically, but not really. Even Sauron, in his own twisted way, thinks he's healing Middle-earth. I despise this argument. I see this argument everywhere. Well, he thinks he's doing so. It doesn't matter what he thinks. It doesn't matter what he feels. His feelings are irrelevant in literally everywhere. Everybody's feelings are irrelevant. The only thing that matters is reality and what he's actually doing. Is what he's doing good or not? It doesn't matter what his opinions of it are, but he thinks he's doing good. He thinks he'll be a better leader, and that means that he has the right to go around and murder everybody. Even the orcs want a safe place to... Nobody cares about the pissing orcs. The embodiment of evil. Don't you understand? The orcs just want a home of their own so they can grill human flesh. This was the narrative they were trying to push in season 1. You remember season 1, where they blew up an entire area with a volcano. But that's okay, because they just want a home of their own. This is why you can't employ these people to make these stories. They have absolutely no idea about values. If the Orcs want to detonate a volcano, have them do it in Hollywood. But the really awful thing about all of this is then McKay says something that I actually agree with, that there's an earnestness to Middle-earth. We'll happily embrace that. And it's really hip to be cynical or roll your eyes or be postmodern, and we're just not going to play that game, he says, while he's playing that game. You do realise that postmodernism is in deconstructing, such as deconstructing morality, by going, you know, that evil guy over there, he's actually good. You should pity that evil guy, and those orcs, yes, I do know they've just wiped out an entire civilization. But only so they could move in there themselves and have a home. That is postmodern, exactly what you're doing. But it goes to show that McKay does understand the work, he just chooses not to implement it. Well, it's either understand or somebody told him the message and he simply repeated it without comprehending what it meant. It's a toss-up. Is he evil or stupid? I don't know. The villain's journey is about understanding Sauron's psychology and how he works. He wants to rule over everybody because he thinks he'll do it better. But as you can actually look at the areas where he ruled and see the effect that his rule had on them, nobody wants that rule. There's nothing inherently wrong about ruling people. It really does depend on the outcomes of your rule.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to have sex with my brother.
Cut. Thank you.
And then we get into how we're going to have him be really complicated. The deception, the manipulation, lies, coercion, and cunning to set the chess pieces in motion. Watching him gleefully manipulative in his game is a lot of fun. And to be fair, all that stuff right up my street in the TV show. But it has to be done right. It has to have depth and genuine intelligence behind it. I think that's where the problem's going to be. That's why I doubt the competence that that's going to be carried out with. This is coming from the same people that said a hill troll was inspired by Breaking Bad's Mike Ehrmantraut. Definitely Mike there, definitely Mike. Clear comparison between the two characters. Obvious inspiration for the troll. Or maybe Tim the Tatman. I mean, that's a possibility as well, let's be honest. It is a bit of a toss-up which one is kind of more likely to have been the foundation of the episode. And I love their description of Season 1. In Season 1, we saw Galadriel, one of the greatest heroes of Middle-earth. Her pride, her PTSD.
I'm gonna go Galadriel.
Yeah, I love Galadriel.
Yeah, they were a crack that he could manipulate to get everything he wanted. At no point in this entire paragraph does it go, she was incredibly thirsty and he was hot.
I can change him.
That's why she fell for him. At no point did he manipulate her PTSD. PTSD from what? She wasn't even the one that died. She just walked around for a bit without a map. The oppressive forces of evil are reflected in every aspect of the set design and the creative team. Things are going to get a lot worse before they get better. That might be the most self-aware sentence ever to have been uttered about Rings of Power. But that was the main takeaway from that article for me. That he's talking about, oh no, we're not going to do peak bleak. This is going to be good. Everything's nihilistic, cynical. That's all easy to do. There's an earnestness in Middle-earth when we happily embrace it. It's easy to be cynical and postmodern. We're not going to do that. By the way, the orcs are sympathetic and Sauron's a good guy. It's the simultaneous saying the right things while doing the exact opposite. And so how can you say that the audience response to Rings of Power shaped Season 2 when you're making all of the same mistakes? You're just saying the right words. Again, like you did in Season 1 when you weren't calling the audience evil. Sorry, that's a misquote. It was patently evil.
I stand against hate.
I stand against hate.
I stand against hate.
And I do think a significant part of it is this paragraph where it goes, we take in everything, we read everything, we read the reviews, we read what you have all written. And up to that point, sounds fine. Then it gets a little bit weird with, we read what your colleagues have written, to which any audience member would go, what colleagues? And that's when you realise he's actually just talking about professional critics, journalists. All of this is just talking about you as in the people that matter. And then we also read what the fans are saying right at the end, with 25% of the talking about the professionals and the journalists, when actually the only people that matter are these ones, the afterthought, the ones at the end. Reading what all the journalists and the professional critics have to offer, probably a significant part of your problem if that's what you've shaped Season 2 around.
An evil, ancient and powerful has returned.
And ended up with a show about the villains. Yeah, you're gonna have to feel sorry for Sauron because it just didn't end how he would have hoped. Galadriel cast him out and he's left with nothing. It's like going through a divorce. She has all the rings where he has no friends, no army, no allies, no weapons, no resources. She took everything from him. He just wanted the puppy, but no, she took that as well. And so what's he gonna do? He's gonna go to this person over here and turn that group against that group and then turn these people people against these people. Basically, he's going to engage in reputation destruction. My favourite bit is when they're talking, McKay added, but Celebrimbor's destiny has not yet been written. I was like, I'm sorry? That's a weird choice of words considering you're talking about a book where it was literally written down. And I know what he means, but it is very 2024 to go, how does that play into that? Well, we know men are weak. That's why they got hired as the showrunners. They've also said that Season 2 will go along at a faster pace, which is lucky because Season 1 put most of their audience into a coma. Even that contradicts itself, though, when you find out why that this season is going to be faster. Definitely, things have been sped up in Season 2 because we've cast a lot of the show. So that process is a little further on this time around. And I'm like, what? The efficiency in casting allows for a more streamlined production? What are you even on about? You write a show with characters and cast those characters. But it seems like because they hadn't cast the characters, they had to write around all the people that they didn't have. They basically said our story was boring because we couldn't be bothered to hire enough people for an interesting one. But this time we actually put some effort in and got all the actors we actually needed. I think that's the worst excuse for a boring television show I've heard. We had to write around characters because we couldn't be bothered to pay them. This series is about the individuals and the characters. It's about how people reckon with the evil that is inside them, which again is another postmodern take. You're not a good person, no. There's evil in you. Actually, Galadriel isn't a good cat. No, there's evil in her. She made some pretty questionable choices in Season 1, she certainly did. For instance, if you ever see a pyroclastic flow coming from a volcano, don't try and tank it with your face. And she really empowered the Dark Lord. She didn't empower him, she dragged him back into evil as he was begging her just to let him grill. Her friends might look differently and not trust her as much. When she decided to fulfill the Dark One's plan, I thought my compass pointed north, that I was the most righteous, certain elf in all of Elvendon. I literally went so upside down that I was helping the Dark Lord.
Oh my god, Galadriel!
Yeah, I love Galadriel.
None of that talks about making the pissing rings that he wanted her to make. You didn't really help him at any other point until you made his pissing rings. Tolkien's stories are stories about hope. Season 2 is all about the villain. And obviously, in his story about hope, we're going to talk a lot about darkness and horribleness and misery. There is some room for hope in this bleak tale. There's an unnamed wizard which is heading out to parts unknown. That's the only hope he's referencing. The hope is that he's exploring parts of the map that have never been on the screen or books before. The hope in this story, which all centers on evil, is that they can just make up their own crap about the books. Okay, so who is this stranger then? Is he actually Gandalf? Because the Rings of Power showrunners have weighed in. If he's giving us hope, is it Gandalf himself? The short answer, possibly. I mean, it might be. Who knows? I mean, we've only got the showrunner to answer the question, but yeah, maybe. Why did they put a wizard in the series? Well, McKay thought it would be hard to visualize Lord of the Rings if they didn't have a wizard in it. He thought of Rings of Power like a Thanksgiving meal. You needed all the ingredients. You have to have turkey and cranberry sauce, and there needs to be stuffing. I'd just like to point out that all of this reference is American. You're talking about an English story, and the more I look at entertainment, the more obvious the differences between the cultures are, including things that we value and think are important. And the larger the difference in culture, so you'd have like traditional England versus Hollywood, the more references like this, great, as it just showcases that you're not even making an English story. If Rings of Power didn't have a wizard, you just feel like it's missing the point. Yes, the point of Lord of the Rings was that it had a wizard in it. But when it comes to the question of the stranger's identity, where he says things like, when in doubt, follow your nose, they say we try to make it delightful, that there are several possibilities of what can end up being the meaning. Is he Gandalf? Maybe he is. Maybe he isn't. Don't you think that's delightful? No, there should be a pissing answer, and you should know what it is.
I don't care. Why'd you ask?
Could that mean that the stranger is Gandalf and that he says that then later on? Well, I mean, it could. Could it mean that the stranger is Saruman and you realise that Saruman said it to Gandalf and then Gandalf said it? There are ways you can sort of pinball it like that. There could be these delightful paths that could come out either way eventually. So we just like to keep these doors open. I'm sorry? You're the ones writing it. Do you not know? Have you not decided yet? No, we just like to keep our options open. Maybe it's Gandalf, maybe it... No, you should know the answer so that you can write towards the answer. Even if you're doing a mystery box, you should know what's inside the pissing box from the start so it makes sense, rather than try and desperately grab all of these loose threads that you've we've made as more mystery boxes to try and cram them into something that doesn't really explain it later on, like Lost. No, it's fun to engage with the story. Think about the possibilities. Yeah, but you do know what the answer is, right? Because it sounds like you're just going, I just enjoy not knowing. No, we prefer to ground it in the experience of the characters. The wizard doesn't know who he is. The real Gandalf is just the friends that we made along the way. And if he did know, then it might feel cheap. This is one of those moments of self-awareness where they say the right thing, they understand the point, and then just do it anyway. It might feel cheap if we don't know who the wizard is, because it might feel like we're just withholding the answer for the purpose of withholding. If we don't tell you if the stranger is Gandalf, you might just feel like it's a mystery box for the sake of having a mystery box. Yes, that's exactly what it feels like.
Get her back here right now, so I can loofer her to death.
But no, it's the wizard is on a journey of self-discovery. It's actually characterization. So now we're on this journey of self-discovery with him, where he's learning about his powers. For us, it's really delicious to watch a character who could eventually become one of the great powers not be there. He could. We don't know if he will, despite the fact that we're writing the show. But he could, and he might have to figure out what mistakes he's going to make along the way. Will he pity Sauron and feel sorry for the orcs? Who knows? And that's not the only thing they're exploring. The background of Saruman or Gandalf, who could be both or neither, or maybe all three. You only said two. There's also the Grey Havens in Lindor, more of Numenor, and the dwarves are digging deeper and going to new parts of Khazad-dûm we haven't seen before. You may think one tunnel of rock looks just the same as another tunnel of rock. We're here to prove otherwise. But there is one thing that it seems like Rings of Power has learned from their marketing of Season 1, at least at the moment. Whereas in Season 1, they deliberately called out and started calling everyone bigots and evil. But there was another side of the campaign which kept talking about the showrunners and how much they loved Lord of the Rings. They're really earnest and love it all. How they took people around where Tolkien lived and then gave them interviews about it, and everyone was really reassured that they were entirely embracing this story. And we get similar things now. When I think back to this moment of the conversation, I can't help but smile. There's something refreshing about knowing dark things are about to come, but not playing into the cynicism of other contemporary stories. I can tell they mean it too. I can't think of anyone as excited to talk about their season as McKay and Payne have about Rings of Power. I have no issue believing their story will be earnest because they themselves are earnest. There is no Hollywood cool kid facade here. All that came because of their comment about Middle-earth, how we embrace the goodness in it, how it's really easy to be cynical and roll your eyes and be postmodern, as they're postmodern. They did drop their attacks on the audience and go back to, no, the showrunners are good people. Really, it's about vibes. Tolkien would have loved that word, I can tell, but it all comes down to it doesn't matter if you believe it. If you don't understand what it means, you can be earnest about telling a hopeful, good story, but if your morals are not that of the audience, if they're of Hollywood rather than humans, then you're still going to make a story that comes across as cynical and postmodern, because that's what you are. Pitying Sauron and sympathizing with the orcs is cynical and postmodern. And that's why we get an intimate look at Adar early on and understand his relationship with the orcs better. That's where the sympathetic bit will come in. Adar is stronger, but he has a lot more of his children, which is how they're going to pitch the evil species of the orc. They're just children. He just wants to protect his children because he doesn't want to lose them. No one would want to lose the murderous evil people, and they just want you to understand Sauron, his motives, really get into his psychology and how he works. You know, I can fix him.
Do you think we're going to see another side of Sauron?
Yes.
Like maybe he falls in love.
People are going to fall in love with him and be like, I can change him.
I feel like there's going to be a bit of romance. And it's like, you can't be with him.
Wow.
Why not? He's my ex.
But now Galadriel remains alone. She's strong and independent. Her friends didn't believe the darkness was back in Season 1, but now it's back. Well, now they don't trust her because she brought back the darkness in Season 1. That means she's going to be very independent. Even IGN's taking the piss. The wizard that cannot be named and is most definitely not Gandalf, but drops hints about maybe being Gandalf. That's one hell of a name for a character. Was talked about quite a bit. The key nugget from the chat about Sauron was even Sauron thinks he's healing Middle-earth in his own way. It's not darkness for the sake of darkness. No, it's because he's pissing evil. It doesn't matter if Sauron thinks he's good if he's evil. It's an objective measurement. So it seems like we might get self-righteous Sauron this season. Nothing postmodern here. There are about 1,500 orc makeups for Season 2. I don't know where you got that number from, but I'm assuming you mean over the entire series of filming. I don't believe there's going to be a scene where you had 1,500 people in it. Although if you did, that would be impressive, as obviously everyone wanted Galadriel to do more battles. After she needed therapy from filming the first series voice doing them. See, there are 20 stunt actor orcs with 40 or 50 background orcs that cycle in and out as needed. So the whole 1500 bit was nonsense. And obviously, as you would expect in a hopeful show, the vibe they've gone through is World War I. Looks like the Western Front with lots of trenches and ladders. And I'm like, why? Trenches were invented because people had guns. There wasn't much use for trench warfare before weapons because everyone just attacked each other because you could get to them. The issue with guns was when you walked at them, you just fell over. I don't know why we've got an entrenched war going on in Lord of the Rings. They've tried to do as much in real life as possible, although there will be times when we have to use the green screen. For instance, if somebody gets their arm chopped off, and I'm like, what? Surely that's the easiest thing to do in real life. You just get them to put their arm inside their clothing. Ta-da! But I think all of these articles were desperately trying to reassure people that no, they really love this stuff, and they're desperately trying to say the right things. We really did listen to you. It's just that, like with any of this show, when you dig into it a bit more, the cracks start to show, and then the cracks turn into caverns. Even coming down to, we listened to the audience response, turned into, we mostly just listen to the professionals, and we read what the fans are saying. The talk about being hopeful and not peak bleak, not being cynical and postmodern. Well, that just turned into, we're making a series all about the villains and how really they're sympathetic and you should feel sorry for the orcs. You'll pity Sauron. Everything seems to be a case of saying one thing, which is the right thing, and then doing the opposite. At least, that's how it comes across in these articles to me. Maybe I'll get proved wrong in the series. Maybe they'll actually have a really solid grasp of what morality is. But when you're saying that the orcs are sympathetic just because they want a homeland, as they're eating people and were literally created by perverting people to evil, I can't see that being the case. When you're saying that actually Sauron is a good guy because he just wanted to lead people, he thought he was a good guy, and that means that he's not a bad one. Doesn't quite come across like you've grasped the core of what the story was trying to say. So maybe I'll get proved wrong. I just don't think so. But what do you think? Let me know down there in the comments below. Like the video if you like the video, subscribe. More videos like this in the future, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.